Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, and welcome back to the channel. Is trucking worth it? It I get asked this question all the time, whether it's on videos or in live shows, and I bet just about every YouTube trucker gets asked that same question. Is trucking worth it? Is there money in trucking? Is it worth being an owner operator? I'm about to address my true feelings and my answer in this video, so make sure you stay tuned. Well, for me to give an honest opinion to these questions, I need to address each question individually, right? Like I said, one of the biggest questions I get is trucking worth it? In my 25 years of experience, basically the question that I get asked is, trucking worth it? Is there money in trucking? Now, like I said, I have almost 26 years of experience in this industry, and my answer to that question is yes, trucking is worth it. I think trucking is a very good career. It's what I have raised my family on. Trucking has provided everything that I have in my personal life. It's come at a great cost as well, though. That's the thing. Like, you have to understand all the different types of trucking that are out there and what the trucking industry demands of the truck driver. There are very few 9-to-5 trucking jobs. Now, there are some 9-to-5 trucking jobs where you're working 8-9 hours a day. The reality is, at least in my experience, most trucking jobs, now I haven't had a lot of trucking jobs. I've worked for very good companies and haven't had to jump around. So my opinion is only based on 4 companies, basically, in 25 years. And one of those companies is my company. So my opinion of what trucking isn't based on a huge experience base with different companies. It's really only with a few companies. But trucking requires a lot of your time. You're going to work 10 to 14 hours a day, depending on what type of trucking you're doing. And my experience has been the best trucking jobs that I have had locally, like when I was a local driver and wasn't over the road or wasn't a regional driver where I was gone for 1, 2, 3 nights a week. When I was a local truck driver, a lot of the best paying driving jobs were requiring you to be physical. You were carrying drywall. You were using two-wheelers to run groceries into restaurants up and down stairs. You know what I mean? But those jobs paid very, very well. You know what I mean? But they required a lot of work, and the hours were very long. You would get done with your shift. This is my experience. I would get done with my shift, go home, spend a little bit of time with my wife and kids, eat dinner, shower, go to bed, do the same thing again. And it turned into a very hard pattern, because I started the type of work I did, which was refrigerated food delivery work, when I was a local driver, and I was also a boom crane operator for many years. My jobs required me to be outside in the elements. Whether that was summertime, wintertime, in the rain, whatever, I was out in the elements. And a lot of these jobs that I had, you could work 7 days a week. You weren't running an ELD and things like that because you were within the radius of not having to do that. So I was working, I would get asked to work 6-7 days a week, and I was paid very handsomely for it. So I did it. So to answer that first question, like, is trucking worth it? Is there money in trucking? My experience has shown, yeah. And it's a great career field to get into. It's if you don't know what direction you want to go and you're a young man or woman who doesn't really have direction on where you want to go in your life, trucking is a great, like, first career jumping off style career, because you can make a very good income very quickly. It doesn't take you that long to make a good income, an income that would support a family. Now I live in Minnesota, so maybe pay is different across other parts of the country, but like, my income supported a family of 5. My wife was a stay-at-home mom with our children. So my income in trucking before I became an owner-operator was providing for my entire family. So to answer question 1, yeah, I think trucking is worth it, and I think there's money in trucking. The second question I get all the time is it worth being an owner-operator? That is such a loaded question. It's basically the same thing as the question 1. Is it worth being an owner-operator, and is there money in being an owner-operator? And I believe that is such a loaded question. What do I mean by that? Well, I don't think everybody is meant to be an owner-operator. I don't think everybody is meant to operate a business. And first and foremost, that is what being an owner-operator is. It is making decisions to operate a business and try and have success in that business. And here in America, like, a lot of businesses don't succeed. A lot of businesses fail within the first year. Even more businesses, once you get past like 5 years, you are actually in a higher percentage of being successful as a business owner, because a lot of businesses fail between year 1 and year 5. You know what I mean? But it's the American dream, right? It's an American dream to do something for yourself that you hopefully can grow into something that you make money at and something that you're proud of, right? So once again, understanding what type of trucking you want to do as an owner-operator makes a huge difference in your success, or is it worth being an owner-operator? There's so many different types of trucking. There's so many ways to be an owner-operator. You can have your own authority. You can run under your own numbers. You can carry every single cost of a trucking business on your own shoulders. Or you could be like me and be leased on to a carrier, meaning I own all the equipment. I own the truck. I own the trailer. I do not own the name on the side of my truck. Let's talk a little bit about that. Why did I choose to lease on to a carrier instead of getting my own authority? I chose to lease on to a carrier for multiple reasons. 1, I believe I could have access to better freight than me coming straight out of the gates with a new numbers and a new authority, which is very true. If you've experienced getting your own authority, you know how difficult it is to even get that first load, and what you have to do as a business to get that first load and continue to get loads after that. You're usually cutting the rates. You're working with brokers that might not have the best credit score. You know what I mean? So you're taking a gamble on getting paid. Me, I chose to lease on to a carrier that I knew I was going to get paid weekly. I knew that the carrier had access to customer style freight. That's a huge thing in trucking. You know, you need, even if you're leased onto a carrier, you need to build relationships with people. It is the number one thing I would suggest to people, is build relationships with people, whether it's brokers, other trucking companies, shippers, whoever it is. Get on the phone and start calling trucking companies in your area and ask if you can haul freight for them. You know what I mean? That's something I still do, even though I'm leased on to a carrier. I have been able to secure freight that never sees the load board, that other trucking companies have the contracts to, that they are okayed to give that freight to me. You know what I mean? Or the carrier that I'm leased on to. I bet, man, 75% of the freight that I haul is customer or direct shipper freight. It's freight that never sees the load board. It never gets picked over by other people, right? Does that make sense? And I have found in my experience that you have the opportunity to build your business off of consistency versus the spot market 100% of the time. The rates in the spot market are like the stock market. They're very volatile. Now, the rates in customer freight is volatile as well. It's just not as fast. It doesn't happen as quickly. There isn't such a quick drop off like there is in the spot market. It takes a couple of months to catch up. And hopefully by that time, when your customer or shipper is coming to you and asking you to negotiate some of the rates, hopefully you've proven yourself as a business owner to these companies to where you're still going to see very good money and you're going to see consistent freight on the lane you want to run. That's very, very important. So, like, is it worth becoming an owner-operator? I believe it is. You just have to have the right mindset, and you have to really look at this industry and decide what it is you want to do. And I would also highly recommend having a few mentors, man, or at least people that you can talk to that are going to be honest with you. There's no shame. Listen, I asked people in trucking that were owner-operators before I became an owner-operator. I asked them if I could see their tax returns. Now, I happen to know these people, and they showed me their tax returns. I saw how much they were spending in their trucking business and how much they were bringing home. I had a very good idea on what I was getting myself into when I purchased my first truck, decided to quit my company job, and come out here and make money, right? But I also understood what that meant. That meant I was taking the responsibility of being a business. I was taking the responsibility that everything that my company job offered me, I now had to provide for myself and my family. Health insurance, retirement, etc., vacation time. The list goes on of things that I had to do as a business to make sure I was doing better as an owner-operator than a company driver, right? So to answer that question, do I think being an owner-operator is worth it? And is there money in being an owner-operator? 100% there is. A lot of people right now, or over the last year, you've learned a lot in YouTube trucking. You've learned a lot about the people that have been in trucking for a long time and the people that haven't. The people that got in at the right time when rates were just on fire. And you had people telling them, hey man, don't spend $220,000 on a truck. Get a fuel efficient truck. And you heard these guys and girls say, no, I'm a truck driver. I got a lifestyle. I got to have my 389 or my W900 and everything's going to be $4 or $5 a mile. Fast forward to today, those people are either out of the industry and you don't hear from them, or all they're doing right now is complaining about freight rates. Well, let me put a couple of screenshots up here right now on what the freight rates are really like. This is solely spot market, right? Are freight rates tough right now in the spot market? They are. They are. But there are certain types of trucking, reefer trucking, flatbed, van, that all pay different. I happen to be a reefer freight hauler because reefer freight rates tend to be better throughout the year than the other types of trucking that I've done, which is van and flatbed, right? Reefer rates, typically in the lanes that I run, stay higher rate per mile if I was working off the spot market than the other forms of trucking. So understand, like when people are on YouTube complaining and whining about the freight rates, that should tell you a lot about when they got into trucking. Listen, freight rates right now are not great, right? Like if you're working the spot market, they're not great, but you can still make money. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. Here's what a lot of people are complaining about. The cost of operating. It's not the freight rates. It's the cost of operating. It's the cost if you have a breakdown. It's the shop cost. It's if your truck needs to get towed, how much the towing companies are charging. It used to be the fuel. Fuel has come down dramatically. Like, if you're failing as an owner-operator right now and you're complaining about fuel, like, I personally think there is something way more wrong with your business than fuel. You know, because fuel's coming down. Whether you get good discounts or not, fuel is not as expensive as it was even a year ago. You know what I mean? Or 6 months ago. Fuel is dropping dramatically. But what has increased are shop rates, the cost of everything. The cost for me to park my truck when I come home has gone up almost $125 per month from what I previously started paying. So everything in trucking has gotten more expensive, with freight rates being a little bit hectic, right? But now, what does that mean for people that want to become an owner-operator? I could make an argument that right now, getting into being an owner-operator is probably the best time. You're not going to pay a lot for the equipment. The equipment isn't going to cost you what it... Take, for example, the truck that I'm currently in. I bought this truck at the height of the truck market. I overpaid for this truck. Now, because if I would have waited 6-7 months, this truck, I would have saved probably $35,000 on the purchase of this truck. But when I chose to buy this truck, it made sense for my business, right? It was time to upgrade my equipment, but I did overpay for it, right? So somebody getting into the industry today, you're getting into trucks, trailers, everything you need at a much lower rate than even what I paid when I bought this truck, right? But that's all kind of relative. And what do I mean by that? Yes, I overpaid for my equipment. This truck in particular. Excuse me. But it hasn't hindered me at all. Why? Because I've run consistent freight. I have still a great low interest rate loan that I'm not drowning in debt from this truck. Matter of fact, I will be paying this truck off early from the note that I received. You know what I mean? I'll be paying the truck off probably about a year early. But had I waited till like now, and somebody that's thinking about becoming an owner operator right now, your equipment costs are going to be so much lower than mine that you might be able to pay that equipment. I'm talking truck and trailer off in a year and a half, 2 years. Like, that's still, if you are structured, business structure, if you have set things up the right way and you're willing to work, you're willing to like understand what being a business means. Being a business means you're probably not going to get the time off you're used to getting off. You're going to be working to pay down the costs of the assets that you have added to your business. You need to work and stack cash. You know what I mean? I'm still doing that, right? Like, I had my best year last year as an owner-operator when everybody on YouTube said that trucking was dead and being an owner-operator, you were losing money. I had my best year as an owner-operator last year. Fast forward to this year. Certain things I've done that I was doing last year have not really dried up, they've slowed down. So I have had to stay out in my truck longer for more time than I am used to. I don't stay out 6, 7, 8 weeks at a time. I am right now because I'm doing something. Here's something. I found something that's working for me that I'm very profitable at as a business. And instead of going home for a day or two, 3 days, 4 days, and missing out on that revenue and the potential of that freight being scooped up by another owner operator or another carrier to when I come back, it's gone. I am choosing to continue to run it until the end of the month, because that's the relationship I have with that shipper and broker. They run till the end of October. So instead of me giving away the freight to somebody else, I am choosing to stay and choosing to continue to run that freight because it makes sense for me and my business. Those are the decisions you need to make as an owner operator. You know, how can you survive the guy to your right and the guy to your left? You know what I mean? We might be doing the exact same thing, but you need to find a way to do it better than them and more cost efficient than them to make it work for you. And like I said, I do think right now is the time. Listen, if you have a dream of being an owner operator, take it. Take it. Understand you might fail and you might spend a lot of money and not see a return on that for a little bit right now. But take that risk. The only things I have gotten in life was because I chose to take a risk. I chose to do something that I thought would benefit me and my family and worked hard at it. And it worked. You know what I mean? That's the American dream. The American dream isn't a promise. Like, it's just not a promise. And the American dream is still out there. You just have to be willing to take the risk, you know? And like I said, part of the risk is the cost of the equipment. Right now, the cost of equipment is low. You know what I mean? But don't let anybody talk you out of your dreams, man. I had a lot of people, including my family members, that thought I was a fool for quitting a good company job 4 years ago and becoming an owner operator and purchasing equipment and spending the kind of money I was spending. They thought I was crazy. Fast forward to today, and like, they're very proud of what I've done and been able to do. You know what I mean? I think part of the American dream is having that dream, everybody thinking that dream is crazy, and you attempting to work on that dream. That's the American dream. And understanding that the American dream is nothing but hard work, sweat, blood, tears. That's the American dream. And then one day you wake up and you're happy with what you have created. That's the American dream in my mind. So I hope I answered these questions that I get all the time. Is trucking worth it? Is there money in trucking? Absolutely. Whether you're a company driver or an owner operator. The second type of question I get a lot is it worth being an owner operator, and it is now a good time to be an owner operator? My answer to that is yes, but understand what you're getting into. Please also understand this. Like, when you're watching YouTube and you're seeing these guys and girls talk about these are the worst freight rates ever, they're wrong. They're 100% wrong. The freight rates going back to like 2008, 2018, 2019, like, the freight rates on the spot market are very volatile, but they're not the worst they've ever been. And there is so much more freight out there that is profitable, that is there if you make the right decisions as a business for you to capitalize on and maybe live a life that is living out your dream. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this long video. Until next time, you know what it is. Keep on trucking.